Hey, good. We are excited to be here calling this match between Olympus and Highland. I've got the play-by-play personality, Coleman Meyer, and I'll kind of sit here and make certain that he's calling the play-by-play correctly. Um, no, hey, we expect to have a fun game today. I'm a member of Utah Youth Rugby. I oversee all the boys programs in the state. And this particular match is important for both teams. They are part of the single school conference, which consists of Harriman, Olympus, Mountain Ridge, Highland, and East. This is a conference match, and the reason that it's important is that there's points involved, and that'll be significant for seeding. Right now, Olympus is currently in the second position of seeding, and Highland is in the fourth position of seeding. The top four teams from each conference go to the playoffs. So Olympus has 7 points, and Highland currently has 5 points. The maximum number of points that you can get in a match is 5. So you can see the significance of this particular match, because there will be a little bit of a switch, could be movement, with these teams depending on the outcome of this match. The other teams in the conference, Harriman and Mountain Ridge, are on spring break, so they do not have any conference matches this weekend. So where they stand with points will stay consistent. And then East, who's in the 5th position with 4 points, is playing a friendly out at Kearns High School against Kearns, and there will not they will not be eligible for any points in that non-conference friendly match. So again, this match is important. These two programs, Coleman, you're familiar with both, right? You played with Highland back in 2010, somewhere around that time period, and then you were part of that first year start of Olympus in 2013.
Yeah, I mean, Highland obviously has a very rich history with rugby. Here in Utah, they've, basically one of the founding forefathers, if you will, of rugby in Utah, with the legacy of Larry Gelwicks and really bringing that sport to Utah. And then obviously, the birth of Olympus, that first inaugural team, that inaugural season, a lot of those players did actually come from that Highland background of, the legacy that they brought, and it's carried over into Olympus, and they're carrying that tradition on today. It'll be really interesting to see, the pressure that Olympus has to keep that standing in the playoff standings, and the pressure that Highland's going to put on them today. It'll be interesting to see how they all play out.
Yeah, you make a good point on how this game will play out. Historically, Olympus, not very big, right? They've never had big front row, big props. They've been relatively small, but always quick, right? And very disciplined. Highland historically in the past have always been big, right? Big front row and quick athletic players. And looking at them right now, obviously they outsize Olympus right now, probably in the front row, except for one player for Olympus. You can probably see him out there, number 5, Colby Harden, probably 6'5", 6'6", a little over 300 pounds. So, anyways, should be a good match. Looks like they're ready for the kickoff. Alex Nunnally, one of the better refs in the state, is the center ref, and the time will obviously be held by him. So
Yeah, it looks like
here we go.
We're gonna have Jason Tupua to kick to start the game. Olympus, receives it well, kicks it out very quickly to the side, takes it back in, just gets down. Clearing out the ruck, just going with the forwards right now. It's very wet today, so you're going to see the ball flying out a little bit. It's going to be a little bit harder to handle, which we just saw. Looks like there was a knock-on by Olympus, so it's going to be a scrum for Highland, and we're really going to see that size difference here in this scrum. Looks like there's already an injury here for Highland.
Oh yeah,
carried off quickly.
I missed that.
Yeah.
And the nice thing here with Utah Youth Rugby is that we have trainers at every match to assist with injured players, whether it's a head injury or a knee injury. So we take the health of our players seriously. So that's unfortunate. And number one is out no less than 5 minutes into the match.
We hope that it's not too serious. It is a risk of rugby, but we wish him the best, and hopefully he can get back out soon. Here we're going to see that scrum reset. Previously what happened when I called a knock-on, the ball was knocked forward by the offensive carrying team, and then results in a scrum. Looks like Olympus is called on a penalty for not rolling away. Once you make a tackle, you do need to roll away from the ball carrier so that it gives them a chance to place the ball. Highland has a chance to kick it out, and they do, and they get a line out a little farther down the field.
Yeah, I haven't. I've seen a couple of Olympus's games, and I've seen one from Highland a couple weeks ago, and it was against Brighton's B side, so couldn't gauge exactly, how good Highland is. But in reference to the line out, this is one of Olympus's stronger set pieces.
Great. Yep, and right as you say that, Olympus goes ahead and steals that line out and clears it out very quickly. Very smart of them, to use that that opportunity to reset and gain a little bit of that field advantage. The ball is, it is very wet, and so you're seeing it, on the ground quite a bit. Looks like there was a knock-on called once again for Olympus. So it's once again going to be a scrum for Highland. It's going to be a put-in by Ami Lalai Wolfgram. Sorry if I just butchered your name. But yep, that scrum half's going to be putting it in.
Backs come up together.
It's going to be really interesting to see how that weather kind of plays out today. Obviously, we've seen the effects of it in these first 4 minutes. 2 knock-ons already coming through, and so it's going to be a continual battle with the wetness of the ball.
I need to make another announcement. No parents on the sideline.
Highland to put in.
I do not recognize.
Ball quickly goes out.
Come down there
And their 10 quickly goes through. Sees a little space in between that back line, and they quickly chase. It's going to be a try for Highland. That is going to be
Riley!
Number 22 for Highland. Looks like they noticed that there was no fullback in the back, and they found a little bit of a gap and kicked that through. Very, very smart play from Highland to utilize that kick really quickly. Because they're not, Olympus isn't going to be expecting those quick kicks that close into the try zone. Looks like we've got Jason Tupua to kick the conversion. With rugby, when you do score, you do need to, or once you are in the try zone, much like football, you have a touchdown.
Trainer, we just need a quick
with,
nose plug.
with rugby, you do have a touchdown per se, but where you do have to touch the ball physically down and it has to touch the ground. And then when you are kicking those conversion kicks, you basically are able to kick it as far back as you would like, as long as it is, I believe, parallel?
Perpendicular?
Perpendicular, excuse me, to where it was dotted down. Looks like that conversion was no good. Again, I'm sure that the wetness of the field and the ball kind of played a role in that kick.
Riley! Hey, Cole.
Make sure Riley knows to stay home.
So Highland is quickly up within 5 minutes, up by 5. What are you seeing so far, Brent?
This is indicative of of Olympus with their slow starts, right? The last couple games, the opponent has scored right off the bat, and then Olympus has got themselves back into gear, so to speak, and returns the favor with a try. So they are moving into Highland's area, end of the field right now, and close to the 22-meter line. So we'll see if that holds true with Olympus.
Yeah, I mean, immediately you saw that right off that kickoff, they were able to receive that kick cleanly as somebody that kicked it off. It was really, really great, and they're on the front foot as Highland is continually backing up. Great carry by Olympus. Number 9, Ethan Nielsen, is the scrum half. He passes it out to Sam Kernodle. Takes it in. Looks like Olympus is happy to just go through the phases right now, being as patient as they can, working through those phases, trying to find that gap that Highland really isn't providing at this moment. Just very quickly whips it out to number 3, and it looks like it's going to be a high tackle on Highland.
Yeah, number 3 is Rigby. Will Rigby comes from a line of Olympus Rugby players, and I think he's one to keep an eye on.
Right. Yeah, Olympus kicks it out into touch, which will be their line out. Which so far, there's only been one line out so far, but Olympus stole it from Highland, so this is their first offensive line out for Olympus, and we'll see how they handle this, being so close to their try zone.
Yeah, it seems that Olympus just a little lethargic right now in getting things together. There's an errant throw in on the line out, but yeah, they seem to haven't figured things out yet. But rest assured they'll figure it out here shortly, and you'll see some fast-paced play from Olympus, of which I think they need to do against this strong, athletic, Highland group.
Yeah, no, that's something that I've always noticed of Olympus, is they're very quick, and when they score very quickly, and within a blink of an eye. There, unfortunately, there was the throw in for the lineout was not straight, and so that the ball goes to Highland, who they obviously opted to scrum. Very strategic of them, because they do have a little bit larger of a forward pack. Now, Highland had a great set piece coming off of it. And was just tackled out of bounds. It was great defensive pace by Olympus to just bend but not break right there, and they were rewarded for that with a looks like a lineout.
Sam, hold your depth.
And you can hear the coaches, sharing their knowledge about their depth, and what that does for Olympus is give them an opportunity to make their plays and to make their lines a little bit quicker, so that the defense isn't in their face. And just like that, number 12 breaks through the line. That's going to be Sam Kernodle once again, trying to find a gap. Olympus swings it out to the left, just very patient with what they're trying to do, trying to find that gap. But Highland very stout in their defense right now, is not breaking at all. Highland just a little too quick with their pace on defense, so the ref is calling advantage right now for offsides. Olympus swinging it out to their wing. Unfortunately, wasn't able to grab it, but the ref does hold that advantage for offsides, so it's going to be they're going to take that ball back to a spot of the infraction or the penalty. And we'll see what Olympus does with it.
Yeah, one thing I've noticed over the last couple of weeks in the matches I've witnessed with Olympus is that they're quick with the tap and go, right? Once a penalty is called, their fly half or scrum half, I think it's been Cole Nugent, gets that ball and takes off before the defense can set. And also, they've been very quick to the ruck. Historically, just being involved with Olympus over the last, back up until 2016, getting to the ruck, to the breakdown was not Olympus's strength. And I've noticed over the last couple weeks, especially this year, they've been very quick to the breakdown, which is advantageous, right? Because you can get that ball out before the defense gets set.
Yeah, definitely, and that protection of that ball and possession is really the most important part of rugby. Honestly, you keep that ball for as long as you want. There's no way that the other team's going to be able to capitalize on that. Olympus won that line out there. Pass it out, swinging it to their right.
Looks like it'll be a no wrap.
That's correct. Another penalty for Highland. Olympus just true to form. Let's see if they will kick that out. Unfortunately, the penalty before, they did not make it into touch, but luckily were bailed out through a obstruction call. So Olympus kicks it out into touch. Not the best kick, but they'll give it an opportunity to have another line out and perhaps a set piece or a good play that they have in mind here.
Let's get that done. Justice! Number 10! Get to him, Justin. Let's go. Let's go, Dan.
All right, we have Creed Hicken to throw in. Great take by Olympus. Found a little gap there. That was first Akeli Naie.
Brad! Close out!
Olympus taking it in, getting some good meters here. Very quick to ruck over to protect that ball. Always, that's something that I've noticed so far is that you are right. Olympus has always had that support with their runners. Highland still shooting up, being called for that offsides with the ref calling advantage once again. As you can see, when his arm is up holding like that, the ref has noticed a penalty there and is allowing Olympus to play on.
A lot of times with offsides calls, a lot of it is inexperience, of which Highland has a lot of inexperienced rugby players. And also what comes into play with that is, athleticism, right? You want to be quick, you want to be there first, and at times you get, picked off with an offsides call.
Yeah. Looks like there that number 10, Cole Nugent, found a little gap there. And unfortunately was a solo runner, but luckily Highland was caught for offsides once again, shooting up just a little bit too far, too quickly, and so it pays off for Olympus. Once again, kicking it out into touch. See what they'll do once again. I mean, they've been, in Highland's half for, a good chunk of time so far. Haven't been able to punch it in yet. I think it's just those little mistakes, slowing the game down a little bit, which, is not going in Olympus's favor.
Yeah, the inexperience that I had, mentioned earlier with Highland. These guys are a heavy underclassmen loaded, varsity squad, right? They've got a lot of, 9-10 guys.
Yeah, I mean, that inexperience now is just going to be experienced a little later on, right? So it's going to be exciting to watch, Highland as they grow and as they develop more of their players. It'll be cool to see, in a couple of years how that affects them. Yeah,
over the last, couple of years with Highland, I mean, they've struggled a little bit with numbers and stability with the program overall. Dan Berg, who's been associated with Highland for years, and I know you know him when you played at Highland, has done a wonderful job to hold the Highland ship together, if you want to say that, to at least have a program over the next, having a program over the last couple of years. He's brought on some, strong coaches. You've got Vaha Isikia, who was a USA rugby player. He also ran the Las Vegas Rugby Academy, the team down there, and I got to know Vaha through that. He would bring his Vegas teams up to play some of Utah's teams. Nusi Tukuafu, also heavily involved, all with Highland background. right? And so I think Dan's done a wonderful job with, one, keeping Highland together and starting to build. In UIR, we're always stressing to these teams, you have to build your younger groups, right? Your 7th and 8th grade, because those kids will flow, through the program up into 9, 10, and then into, the varsity. And that's one thing that, was hindering Highland, was having a 7th and 8th grade team. And they played earlier, the 7th and 8th grade team played earlier, and they had good numbers. So I think Highland, moving forward, is in a good spot. Olympus, has always been, strong. They've always had good numbers, and they'll be around. So,
yep, and right as you're saying that, Highland is driving into their try zone right now. Just punching it in slowly. Very patient, but Olympus trying to get in there, trying to get the ball, poach it any way they can, disrupt that ruck to succeed and trying to get that ball back into their possession and maybe perhaps clear it out. But Highland, very, very strong, very patient with what they were doing, and very protective of their rucks, and they were able to slowly just punch it in through methodical, what we call them punches, as they, take their forwards and just, pick and go. And you can just see how quickly the possession can change. Once you do lose that and really just field position. You saw that Olympus was win their half, or Highland's half, for about 5-6 minutes, but weren't able to come away with any points. And then immediately after a mistake from Olympus, I believe it was a high tackle, Highland was able to clear it out, kick it into touch, have a successful line out, and then slowly swung it out wide, and then just slowly punched it in once they got within that 22-meter line. It looks like we've got number 22. We don't have a name for him, but he is here to kick his conversion. Not much wind here to impact it at all. It is a little chilly. Maybe some air pressure that could change the lift or anything like that with the ball, but we'll see if we can slot this through. Unfortunately, he cannot. I'm going to chalk that up once again for to the wetness of the ball in the field. That's 2 now, but let's see the third time's a charm.
Jog up here, hurry, jog!
Well, you can attest to the importance of these conversions, right? So far, Highland's missed 2. Even though Olympus isn't on the board yet, if it comes down to it, you look back at the match. If Highland does end up losing, you can look back at the match and say, hey, these missed conversions, cost them. So even though they're only worth 2 points, they're significant in a match.
All right, Olympus to restart after the try from Highland. It was a great take by Highland as they start swinging it out here to their forwards. Highland found a little bit of a gap there. Nice carry. It was quickly picked up by Highland and it was followed through. Strong running by Highland here by their number 8, Justin Raihauti. And Highland kicking once again. Really utilizing that kick right now. Something that I haven't seen in a little while is something that could be utilized a little bit more in high school rugby is that kick. Very quickly, Highland scored off of a quick little kick through, and then we're seeing that being utilized again. Unfortunately, the ball, there was, I believe, a penalty on Highland, so we just got that ball back.
Yeah, the big boys don't like when players kick.
It is a lot of running, right? And you got a little bit of effort. I would, contest even the small guys don't necessarily like running and doing it either. They, have to sprint all the way down and try to chase that. And sometimes,
especially when it's kicked back on a return, right? It's like, oh, I got to go back.
Yeah, that's correct. When you get in those kicking battles, it gets kind of tedious. So.
But you're right. The teams that are successful, especially on the high school level, utilize kicking to their advantage. Harriman has done that for years. And that's why, they're, the gold standard in Utah with high school rugby.
Someone's got won their line out, but unfortunately it looks like Highland did not release their tackle. When you do tackle, once again, you do have to release that ball carrier so that the ball carrier has an opportunity to place the ball back to their team. That's what Highland got caught on right now. Really, you know, it's kind of what we're seeing right now is a lot of penalties on Highland, but unfortunately, because of their speed on defense, Olympus hasn't really been able to capitalize on any of it yet. But they do get a little bit closer here on their line out and see if they have something tricky up their sleeve to maybe punch it in off of a set piece.
And here comes the weather again.
All right, looks like Olympus is opting to go for a maul. Very, very great. That's an awesome maul. Very powerful.
Wow.
That is great work there. You know, the size difference between Olympus and Highland, I think Highland thought that, you know, they would easily overpower him, but Olympus, you know, had a little bit more momentum than they did and punched it in. It was a great call.
Well, you never see a maul done successful in high school rugby. Now, I wouldn't say that was textbook, right? But it was effective. And, yeah, it's not utilized a lot on the high school and the youth level, right? And so teams that are not prepared for it are caught off guard, of which, you know, Olympus caught Highland off guard in that maul. So.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think, you know, something that I did notice that Highland was doing is once they were in those lineouts and once the ball carrier came down, Highland's forwards were very quick to shoot through those gaps and try to stop any set piece from coming through. And so Olympus took advantage of that and decided to maul. And really, it was about a 5 on 3 maul because some of those Highland forwards were shooting through too far. It looks like that Olympus did not make that conversion. And the weather, like you said, has kicked back up, so it'll be interesting to see how the play is going to change for both of these teams. Ball's going to be a little bit wetter. You're going to have to pull in a little bit closer for those passes, and really we might see a little bit more forward play, coming through the rest of the game.
I thought the press box would be a little bit warmer, but it's just as cold in here as it is outside.
Well, beggars can't be choosers, right? At least we're not wet. That's going to be a great take by Cole Nugent. Highland very quick to cover that. Olympus swinging it out to their left, but unfortunately the wetness coming back into play with that knock on by Olympus. It's going to be a scrum for Highland with a little extracurricular activity by Highland. Referee just checking in with everyone to make sure everything's okay. Giving a little thumbs up, like let's calm it down.
Well, the nice thing is, you know, we strive every match, every game in UIR to have certified touch judges, right? We do have one on this side, right? He roughed the previous game, so I don't know the name of this guy doing the AR on this side, and then it looks like we've got a player running it on the other side. But my point is that having a certified AR helps see anything that the center ref misses, right? If there's some improprieties, right, that the center ref misses, usually the ARs pick that up. So.
No, and that's great. There's going to be very powerful running by Highland. They won that scrum. And unfortunately that ball. And looks like Olympus was called for a high tackle there. Getting some sort of momentum and then just quickly being taken away from these simple penalties after an advantage. Highland obviously knowing that it is a little bit more wet, chose not to kick it out for touch and go that line out, and instead went with a really just a power run by one of their forwards here. Highland seeing a little bit of space out wide. Strong running by number 3 from Highland for a try. It's going to be Tyone Vea running it in, and it's just that capitalizing. That's something that I've noticed, Highland's doing a little bit better than Olympus right now, is that they're capitalizing on the mistakes that Olympus is making, whereas Olympus is not capitalizing on the mistakes that Highland is making. That's really been the big differentiator right now for this game. Olympus has had their opportunities, just have never been able to capitalize so far. And it was very, very clever of Highland to opt to do that quick tap and give it off to one of their forwards rather than go a line out, because Olympus is so strong in their lineouts. Highland understood, and that's why they've opted previously for scrums, because Highland's strength is in their scrums, not their lineouts compared to Olympus. But there they just was very, very clever of them to do a little quick tap. Wow, and he switched it up this time. Instead of kicking off of a tee, he goes for the drop goal, and he goes ahead and slots it. That's going to be number 22.
Oh, hey, Duncan! Uppy! Help him when the ball goes to him! Stop watching!
When you or Riley receive the kickoff.
All right, we got Olympus here to reset. Although they are, 12 points down, this is a very manageable game for them. Great kick. Just a little too far. Just a little too much there. Quickly goes out of bounds into touch. It's going to be a scrum center for Highland. It was a great idea. Maybe just had a little bit better of a chase by Olympus, and we could have had a great little turnover there for Olympus. These center scrums are always difficult for backs on the defensive end because this is basically mano a mano here, right? You have to match up your players. There's really no one else to help you, especially if you're on that weak side there. You see the wings and one of the centers basically matching up, and then usually you'll have something here like Highland taking their 8-man and do a little kick because there's a little bit less numbers, and they quickly swing it out. Strong running by number 15, Cedric Fafita.
Thank you! Thank you!
It's going to be not releasing the ball. And unfortunately, there's a little extracurricular activity by Highland. You aren't, in the old days, you used to be able to kind of chuck the ball wherever so that it took a little bit longer for the opposing team that got the penalty to get the ball. But the refs have cracked down on that a little bit more. And as you throw that ball back farther away from the team, the referee is going to add a little extra 10 yards or 10 meters to that penalty. So that's what Highland got caught there. Olympus kicked it into touch. It's going to go with their line out. I wouldn't expect any large throws here because of the rain. It's going to be quicker, right? Those front jumpers, maybe the middle jumper, which is what Olympus goes to right now. And unfortunately, the not straight throw is a killer right now, especially with the weather that we're having. And it looks like Highland will opt to scrum.
Well, I wonder if it would be advantageous for Olympus to try, a little short 5-meter throw in, right? Catch Highland off guard.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely something that, Olympus could consider. I don't know if they have it in their playbook, right? But I definitely think a shorter throw right now, especially with the weather. And, they've been called for a few not straight, throws. So it could be advantageous for them to do that. Highland with that the scrum, quickly going through the line, and then just very strong running by Highland, but quickly taken away by Olympus. Looks like it was a knock-on by Highland. And then that counter run by number 4, Dyson Brown, to reset Olympus on the offense. And then Olympus here with a quick little kick. Looks like it was their number 10.
Okay, this is falling.
Nugent.
Yeah. Oh.
It looks like it just was a little bit. Okay, it looks like that Highland did bring it into the try zone and then tapped it down, which you cannot do. Normally what would happen if the ball was taken into the try zone, they would be able to tap it down, and it would just be either a 22-meter kick, but I believe a rule change would be a goal line kick. But since Highland took it into the try zone and tapped it down, it's going to be a 5-meter scrum for Olympus.
Let's go, defense! Defense!
Yeah, Olympus has got to capitalize off of this, right? They're within the 5-meter line. Don't try to do anything spectacular, right? Just let your big guys punch it and punch it. They have to maintain possession right now if they want to get, another try on the board. But looks like, Highland disrupted that. Yep.
Exactly. It's back to that the same thing. Olympus unfortunately not able to capitalize on the mistakes that Highland makes, and it's going to be a knock-on. It's going to be a scrum for Highland. Yeah, the scrum really is, a big, strong part of Highland's game, as you can see just right there. They're able to make those mistakes, but unfortunately, fortunately, recover from that mistake and get that ball back. So it'll be interesting to see how Olympus defends, so close to to Highland's goal line, see if they can maybe force something, a mistake by Highland, and see how Highland plays out of their own half.
Tap it
It's going to short arm penalty. It's going to be a free kick for Highland. What happens there usually, I'm not the best when it comes to scrums, but usually what happens there is that Olympus did engage early on that scrum, and that is an infraction that causes a short arm penalty and gives Highland a free kick. All right, once again, another penalty by Highland. Olympus choosing to do a quick tap instead. That's going to be number 13, Sam Green, taking it up, strong running, and then followed up by Will Rigby. Highland.
Well, yeah, luckily for Olympus, he was playing advantage because that was another error.
Yeah, I mean, you can already see how quickly, the weather changes, game plans and how games are played really with all these different knock-ons, all these different penalties. It's, we'll see how they adjust at half.
One thing that Olympus doesn't do, of which they should do more often, is go for points, right? Get the 3 points, get some additional, get the 8 points. And maintain possession, right? I mean, they're doing a line out, which is obviously their strength. But with 4 minutes left in the first half, you want to get, you want to go into halftime with some more points. So we'll see how successful they are on this line out, and they may. I wonder if they'll do another maul.
Yeah, I definitely think that a maul is in the cards. Looks like that's what they're opting for as well, and Highland this time was ready for it and did not engage, and so it's going to be a penalty on Olympus. Excuse me, looks like a knock-on? A knock-on instead, but the rules within a maul is if the opposing team doesn't engage in that maul at all, the maul has to disband basically, and they have to get that ball out, and unfortunately Olympus did not do that effectively, and unfortunately the ball's going to go to Highland's way. Highland with the put in, and I wouldn't be surprised if I saw a kick here from Highland just very quickly. Yep, as we see, kicks it right to the center of the field, right to their 15. That's going to be Riley Glaus. Olympus very quick to ruck over to protect that ball, but Highland this time very quick into the ruck to counter ruck. But unfortunately, Olympus there. He's got the. Yep, it looks like Olympus did not release the ball. When you are tackled, you do have to place the ball. You do get one opportunity to place that to your team, but once that happens, you do have to allow the opposing team to get a chance at the ball if they're quick enough without, without any ruck being formed. And that's exactly what happened here. Olympus ran down, didn't have enough support in their rucks, and so Highland was quickly able to poach that ball. And when it was too late for that ruck to come over, the ball placer didn't release that ball at all. No, and once again we see Olympus, having opportunities to score and just barely, missing those opportunities. And so it'll be interesting to see, what Brad Anderson comes up with, the second half, and how to capitalize on those, on those mistakes that Highland has. The referee consulting the other. Nope. What's the call here? I believe according to the the sequence of play here, it looks like it was just not straight. So there's going to be a line out for Olympus.
And I can hear Vaha Sikia down there from the Highlands side yelling commands to his players. He's probably the loudest guy at every match that I've been to. And as soon as I hear it, I know exactly it's Vaha. I love him, though. He's a good guy. Knows his rugby stuff.
Right?
Yeah.
That's great. As we can see, the Highlands, pushing, marching down the field, swinging it out very, very quickly. Olympus is very slow on their defensive line, and so Highlands capitalizing that. Every pass they're getting at least 2-3 meters. Olympus finally coming up a little bit quicker, and they were able to benefit from that. But the referee was playing advantage there. Another high tackle by Olympus. He's going to take it back there. And Highland going for a quick tap, and once again giving it, just a quick tap, just a straight, strong run there. Olympus not really giving much contesting there. Number 13, strong run, Viliami Isikia. Something that I've noticed that Highland's doing a little bit better than Olympus right now is just swinging it out and getting the ball out wide. That's, something that I didn't think was going to be happening. Olympus with their speed, I figured they would maybe get a little bit quicker out so that they could have their speedsters on the edge, swing around Highland. But right now, Highland's the one controlling the game and really controlling the phases. Very strong running once again by Highland. And Olympus comes through with it and quickly clears. Very, very smart. I believe that was their number 10, Cole Nugent.
Yeah, Olympus has done that a couple times in previous games. They did that a lot against East, where East was driving within their 5 meter, and Olympus would have cause a turnover.
Well, with that kick, Olympus is able to clear out some of their pressure, but once again, Highland swinging it out again, finding small gaps between their 11 and their 12. They have a great connection there going. Let's see if Olympus on the back foot is able to recover a little bit on defense. Strong running by number 23, Tonga Fanua. It's going to come in with a try.
Didn't release.
It looks like there was a penalty on Highland for not releasing the ball. Olympus clearing out that kick for a line out, clearing out some of their pressure. So Olympus, escaped, another try there from a mistake from Highland.
So it looks like we're going to have probably the last play. The clock shows 0, but the referee has the official time. So I would assume this will be the last play, providing Olympus an opportunity before the half. All right, trying to chase down a ball. There we go.
All right, Olympus goes for that middle line out jump and swinging it out. And I'm honestly surprised that Olympus didn't go out for a clearing kick here. Obviously, I know it is the second last few plays of the game. But as I say that, Olympus breaking down the sideline. That's going to be Jace.
Didn't release that ball. So the referee determined that he was tackled.
Yeah, I mean that's really that's kind of the bane of getting those long runs. Sometimes your own team doesn't expect you to break through like that, and so they're not there to support you. And unfortunately, that's what happened there. Jace Canistanao broke through and didn't have any support there.
That's the half.
It is the half, indeed.
Well,
it's been an interesting half for sure. I mean, a lot of mistakes coming from I would chalk it up to a lot of the wetness of the ball and of the field. But what have you seen so far, Brian?
Yeah, I mean it's a competitive match, right? And I don't think Olympus has hit their stride yet, right? I mean, a lot of handling errors, a lot of turnovers, especially down in Highlands, end of the field when Olympus is driving. So, I expect, they're down by 12. Olympus is down by 12 points. That's, essentially 2 tries. And it's doable. I think, Olympus is well conditioned from previous, from watching them in previous games. And, depending on how Highland comes out in the second half with, their durability, I think we're in for a good second half. What I want to do from the Utah Youth Rugby side is give a shout out to Game On Live Studio. They are streaming this match, and they are streaming a curtain raiser for Utah Youth Rugby tonight out at Zion's Bank at 5 o'clock. Also another good matchup. It's United, who has, again, a storied history, just like Highland, against a up-and-coming team, Layton Christian, up north out of Layton. And Layton Christian's essentially this is probably their third year program. Tongia Waitaki up there has done a wonderful job in building that program. That was a little bit of an offshoot of Kautoa back in the day, and you remember Kautoa. So a good matchup tonight up at Zion's Bank. It's the number 1 versus number 2 in the multi-school blue-white Tier 1 conference. United is the number 1 spot, I think 2 points ahead of Layton Christian. So if Layton Christian, wins that match, that'll obviously, disrupt the seedings in that particular conference and would project them into the number 1 seed. So, United is very disciplined. Always has been. And Layton Christian is actually pretty fast. They're very physical as well. And so this is a great opportunity, for UIR to kind of, display to folks through this live stream that Game On Live Studio is presenting for us tonight, to say, hey, this is, these are the 2 top teams in the multi-school division within the state of Utah.
Yeah, and it's been a really great opportunity just for the growth of rugby to have, brands like, Game On Live Studio to really just bring awareness to the game, bring a little bit of professionalism to the game as well, to really legitimize rugby in the state of Utah.
Yeah, no, and we appreciate what they're doing. I mean, it's a great setup. I also want to add that Game On Live Studio will also be streaming our first round playoff matches on May 7th over at the Regional Athletic Complex, which is out in North Salt Lake area, as well as our championship matches at Zion's Bank on May 14th. So these guys are a great partner for us right now. I mean, we've always wanted to stream games, and these guys have stepped up to allow us to do that. So thanks for the guys at Game On Live Studio. I was here watching them set everything up, and it's right in front of us. We got a boatload of wires in front. I don't even know where they go.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I mean, it's been really great. I don't know what.
I don't even know how to do my Instagram. So yeah, it's a good thing we got. It's got a good staff here to put these things together.
Yeah, we're very lucky here, and so and I'm interested, back to Olympus and Highland really, to see what those kinds of adjustments that they're going to be making. I would think, Olympus being a little bit more smarter defensively when they are in their own, basically at the back of their tri-zone is at the back of them. Getting those cleared kicks out, having a good chase, and then really trying to maximize maximize those opportunities that they have from Highland's mistakes. I think those are the biggest things that Olympus needs to do. Be it just slowing things down a little bit more, backing up a little bit, getting a little bit better spacing in their back line to allow their plays to develop. Highland's getting very, very quickly into their face, and it's disrupting quite a bit. And so, I think Highland or Olympus needs to make those kinds of adjustments. Now, on the Highland side, obviously they're making those mistakes that Olympus can capitalize on. I think slowing down and being a little bit more in sync when it comes to pushing up in their defensive line. They're shooting up a little bit too quickly as well. That's probably one of the biggest things, is that defensive line and those offsides calls are really killing Highland, and could potentially be the reason why Olympus sneaks away with this game.
Yeah, it's rugby is about possession, right, and territory, and Olympus needs to maintain possession, right? There's no reason for them to try to get, especially when they're in Highlands, within Highlands 22-meter line, right?
Right.
Is don't be pretty. Don't try to go for the home run, get it wide, you know, because that's spectacular, right? You get it out wide and you got, you know, this big run, you know, by your winger. But I think right now with Olympus, with the turnovers and not being able to maintain possession when they're driving, is that they just need to go back and let's just say let's go through some phases, right? You had mentioned earlier. Let's maintain possession and just move it along. I mean, that's not the most pretty game, you know, part of the game when you're just, you know, giving it to your front row guys and your bigs, just plugging, you know, 1 meter at a time, 2 meter at a time. But once you start to get pretty, after going through phases, and, you know, handling errors and turnovers happen, and that's exactly what we've seen with, you know, with Olympus. And unfortunately, Olympus has turned the ball over, you know, giving Highland, you know, a short field.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think, you know, just the patience in general from both teams is you know, could be, you know, paramount for both of them, right? Olympus has gotten these great opportunities, and they get a little try hungry. But those spectacular plays will come as they, you know, are a little bit more patient, set some stuff up through their forward pack, through a few punches, right? You know, having their forwards take it up a little bit, and then just trying to, you know, slowly try to find those gaps from within Highland, because as these defensive lines shoot up, there's going to be 1 or 2 guys shoot up maybe a little too far, and Olympus can, you know, potentially capitalize on that with a little cut underneath with one of their supporting lines. You know, same thing with Highland as well. You know, just a little bit more patience on that defensive line to allow them to just kind of, you know, weather the storm with Olympus in the second half. I believe Olympus kicked off to start the game. I could be wrong. It looks like Highland is setting up to receive a kick. So, yeah, it looks like Olympus is going to be kicking off this second half to restart. You know, the weather's, you know,
Clearing up a little bit.
Cleared up a little bit, yeah.
Still chilly.
Yeah, but I'm sure it's
Still
still
like winter.
Yeah, it's still a little bit wet as well, so we'll see kind of what
Tight, get out of here, go. All you guys, let's go.
Well, I can hear on the headset Highland getting on some of their younger players and goofing around under the tent.
And you know these other teams with their JV sides, their 7-8s. You know, they like to hang out on the sideline with the varsity guys. But sometimes things get a little bit too rowdy, and I think it was Dan Berg there had to, you know, enact the law of the head coach, and
he sent him off.
Yes. So, all right, looks like a few captains are having a little discussion with the ref, just making sure everything is all well and good. Ref's making Highland making a few subs as well. The ref's just checking with that.
So right now, you know, in seeding for the conference, Olympus has secured the 4th spot, right? And that,
what number are you?
hopefully that is not, you know, something that Olympus is thinking about, because if you go in as the 4th seed, you're playing probably Harriman first round, right? You want to get Harriman in the second round. So Olympus has to, you know, win this game, or should win this game, get some points to secure at least a number 2 or a number 3, you know, spot.
Yeah, definitely. And as the game gets underway, Olympus kicks to Highland. Highland takes it very, very well. This is kind of what I'm hoping that Olympus maybe does a little bit more. It's just a little bit more patient with the ball, not forcing anything, you know, just kind of going through the phases a little bit, just keeping possession, not trying to do any unnecessary offloads, and really just keeping possession of the ball. But then as I say that, Highland again with another one of those mistakes, and a quick tap by, I believe it was number 10 from Olympus. That's going to be Cole Nugent. And then another penalty from Highland. And Olympus going to kick into touch once again, maybe do another one of those line outs. Now, do you go again with the maul, knowing that knowing that Highland's probably not going to contest that?
What I would have done is done a tap and go.
Interesting. Why?
Well, you would have pulled in to the 5-meter line, right, and reset, you know, with a set piece. Here, you know, even though the line out is Olympus's strength, you know, Olympus just went ahead and threw it in without everybody being
didn't clear the
ready,
channel
right?
quite
Yeah,
yet.
it's like the ref was still in the middle there. See, and it's a matter of maintaining possession. That's
No, but at Highland, very quickly on that counterattack. If you can see just how quickly they go through those hands, even just on a counter. They weren't expecting that ball, but defensively, defense quickly turned to offense for them, and so they quickly passed it through the line and cleared out that ball very quickly and very smart. And then had great kick coverage. Olympus now, trying to recover a little bit. Now has the ball, not as quick to their, not as close to their try zone as they'd like to be, but a strong run by Olympus. With great coverage as well. Can't get a number on him. Swings it out to their 10. As you can see, Highland's shooting up still a little bit, and maybe Olympus can see that and utilize that a little bit. Olympus swinging it out to their left. And then another forward run going through. That's going to be number 4, Dyson Brown. Olympus kicking it through. A nice little grubber. Highland quickly there to recover, but the referee was playing advantage.
So that's probably rugby smarts by that, I don't know who it was, 13 or number 2, to kick that, knowing that they're at playing advantage because they get the ball back. If number 2 would have chased that down and got it, right? But they lost it, and it came back because of advantage.
One could almost kind of equate that to, potentially like an offsides on defense. In football, offsides on defense, almost like a free play.
And you want to know who does that best?
Who?
Aaron Rodgers.
Indeed, yep. So, but, there have been times, at least in the collegiate level, where you kick away your advantage. So you always do want to be wary of that. Sometimes maybe those grubbers, those shorter kicks could be more advantageous than a deep bombing kick. Because, although you lose possession of the ball, you gain a little bit of, quite a bit of meters. And sometimes it's just a game of territory, and it depends on really the ref and how much he values, the territory gained from a deep kick, even though there was an advantage play.
What's really cool right now is the mist, the condensation, the steam coming off the field.
Gives it a little dramatic.
Right, yeah.
feel.
It's like, hey, maybe we are in Ireland playing rugby. Oh.
Olympus trying to go with a little bit of a 13 crash. There may be a little bit of miscommunication or mishandling of the ball, so it wasn't as clean as they would have liked. But Olympus is trying to get a little bit more creative with their runs. It was going to be 13, Sam Green running in there. Number 10, Cole Nugent, once again trying to just find a gap, working through it a little bit. Olympus with the advantage once again from a penalty from Highland. Olympus trying to go with, a power run. They were there. Number 1, it's going to be Tuya. But Olympus goes with the quick tap. Number 10, Cole Nugent once again getting close.
Boy, that gang tackled. That was good.
Yeah, it was great defensive, stand there by Olympus. And a quick card coming from the ref.
That was a card. I don't know what that was.
If that was tackle once again, so it could be a yellow. We'll see it once again if he comes back in. But the ref says, think about your actions and sit in the bench.
For some reason, it looked like a red, but I don't think so. Alex is pretty good, the center ref, at, he doesn't want to send guys off right away, right? He wants to kind of teach and instruct, say, hey, you got to keep your tackles low. We're going to give you a warning on this one with a yellow card. So.
Yeah. Definitely, and I mean, once again here, Olympus trying to capitalize on the mistakes that Highland's making. Highland's down, 1 player, and Olympus still just making those mistakes that aren't able to really.
But they're coming back. Well, he's going back to the original penalty.
Right. Yeah, so it looks like they're, Highland's still making those mistakes, keeping Olympus close to the try zone.
What did he call out there? An offside?
I think I missed that call.
Yeah, I can't distinguish the call.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens here with Olympus, trying to just, see if they have made those.
Now, if you can hear through the microphone, they're asking, hey, can you make the kick? So they were going to try for points. Yep.
Unfortunately, Olympus, solo running and quickly gets poached by Highland there. Very quick, very good on defense with those, unsupported runners, getting over that ball very, very quickly and great defensive stand. Highland quickly kicking it out. Great running by their wing there. But Olympus recovers very well. That was going to be, for Highland, that run was 14, Ashton Olivao. and then taken out by, you know, Olympus.
19 for 12, go.
Oliveo,
Well done, buddy.
Olivea.
I believe his dad is the Highland head football coach.
Yeah, I mean, that's awesome. I mean, football and
If
rugby.
that's the same last name.
Football
so.
and rugby go hand in hand, and so it's you know, imperative that, you know, some of these football guys try to get into rugby, get involved. A lot of these guys do play football, and it's a great crossover. Olympus with the line out there, with almost looked like a fake maul there that they pushed out. Very nice, taken very well by Sam Green. Olympus, you know, had a good cover ruck, but then Highland has a strong counter ruck, but he was coming in from the side. So Olympus is going to be, you know, saved from that penalty and that mistake once again. But Olympus is getting these opportunities. Highland's giving them these opportunities to score, and Olympus just unfortunately, you know, hasn't been able to capitalize on it quite yet. You know, and so we'll see what happens here on this lineup.
Yes. So if you want it, tell Cole you want it.
Josh Anderson, I believe, making those calls. You can hear through the mic. A previous Warrior, you know, going through the ranks there, and so it's great to have that kind of experience on your sideline to, you know, to teach and to be more of a mentor for these guys. Number 2, Creed Hicken with the throw. Olympus with the maul, but again, Highland has not contested that maul at all, and so Olympus is going to be called for an obstruction. There are some unique rules when it comes to the maul. If Highland doesn't engage with that maul, Olympus has to disband that maul as quickly as they can to not be called for obstruction. That's exactly what happened. Highland kicks it into touch, and it's going to be a line out for them once again.
Yeah, we had an incident with that 3 years ago. I think it was Brighton and Kearns, where that exact same thing happened. However, the referee missed that because I don't know if it was Brighton or Kearns, I can't remember, didn't engage in the maul. The opposing team took it in for the try, and they won that. That got them to the championship. And so there was a little bit of discussion on, hey, what
Olympus
exactly is that?
Yep, and Olympus goes and quickly steals that line out with their strength. Goes and kicks through. It's going to be their number 10, Cole Nugent, chasing down. But Highland quickly, you know, Highland was there to recover that. Taps it down in their try zone. It's going to be a goal line kick.
Receipt. We're receiving a kickoff, boys.
That was a great steal by Olympus, and even better, you know, counterattack by Olympus as well. Just trying to put a little bit more pressure on Olympus. You know, interesting kick by Highland itself. You know, I think he thought it had to go a certain amount of meters, but, you know, with a goal line kick like that, there's nothing that needs to be there. Strong running by Tuya. Okay, Olympus just, you know, this is going to be their opportunity to be a little bit
Not rolling away.
Yep, Highland getting called for not rolling away. Olympus needs to be smart here, you know, be a little bit more patient, not force anything, right? You can see Highland is there just, you know, hungry to defend, but Olympus chooses to swing it out.
Yeah,
Number
I don't know
7,
about
Logan
that.
Peterson taking it back in. You know, this is where Olympus can, you know, really try to be a little bit more patient. And just as I say that, number 13 pushes in, and it's going to be Sam Green with the try.
That was, you know, that was worrisome on what Olympus was trying to do there, right? Because we had discussed at halftime, Olympus just needs to maintain possession.
Right.
Don't get pretty with it. Give it to your big guys to just punch it through. And, you know, luckily, Olympus got it out, maintained possession, and took it in for the try. So that brings it in within 7, right? A try and a conversion. But if this conversion is good by Rigby, that'll bring Olympus within a try, within 5 points.
I do know, you know, Rigby's used to be, I mean, I don't know if they were, but the Rigby's I went to in high school, they were big into soccer. And so, this is a dead center kick here. So I would say that he could slot this one through pretty quick, but, you know, we'll see. But, yeah, to your point, I mean, I could see where Olympus was going with that. Obviously, Highland was ready and expecting to have something go right at him, straightforward power ball. You know, and so maybe Olympus had a good idea. The execution may have been a little bit better, you know, swinging it out just a little quicker. You know, and maybe, you know, had that try, you know, a couple seconds earlier. But just as we say that, Will Rigby slotting it through. it's going to bring that game into a one-try game. You know, still anyone's game. You know, and honestly, I think these mistakes that you know, Highland is making is a good opportunity for Olympus to try to, you know, to capitalize on. We're gonna have Highland to restart. We're just gonna be waiting on a ball. But it looks like, you know, a lot of times, you know, playing at Olympus and being one of the smaller guys, a lot of times we play these bigger teams, Highland, you know, Harriman. When we were there, there was DC United. A lot of these bigger teams, sometimes you just had to weather the storm a little bit. And it looks like Olympus is doing that fairly well, staying just within reach of, you know, of winning the game, and you know, just weathering the Highland storm and see it, you know, at the end of the game, you know, within 22 minutes. You know, see if they can come up on top. But right as I say that, Olympus unfortunately was not able to cleanly receive that kick, and they knocked it on. You know, knocking it forward, trying to get a little cleaner of a catch, and you know, the ref was quickly to call that. So it's going to be a scrum for Highland. You know, this is dangerous for Olympus. We'll see how they try to defend this because of, you know, Highland's strength in the scrum. You know, part of me would think that Highland would just try to, you know, push that in and keep the ball within that scrum and just push Olympus back.
Yeah, you're going to have to handle this by yourself for a little bit. I've got some administrative duties within UIR I've got to take care of. I got a boatload of texts that came through from certain fields.
Fair enough. All right. Well, we're going to relieve Brent of his duties. We really appreciate him helping us out here on.
I'm not leaving completely. I'm just not going to be talking.
Ah, well, there you go. All right, Highland with the put in. Cleanly taken. Highland pushing it back. Swinging through. They see a little bit of a gap there by number 12 and 10. Just a nice little crash ball. And that's going to be Miley. And Highland quickly just pushes that in there, capitalizing on Olympus's mistake. That is going to be, if I can see, catches number 5 from Highland. I hear from the sidelines his name is Mo, so we're just going to go with Mo. But yeah, it was just that strong, powerful running from Highland, right? They got a good footstool from that mistake from Olympus on that knock-on. Powerful, very quick scrum through, you know, from Highland, and then just a crash ball from 12, and then a quick recycle with a forward pushing it through. A very, you know, strategic, very smart, and honestly very simple, you know, classic rugby. You know, he slotted his drop goal, you know, earlier in the first half. Tried it again, was not able to connect on this one. Puts that at a 10-point game still. Very manageable for Olympus, and you know, just limiting those mistakes and capitalizing on them.
Just got a notification from Dan Berg that number 17 is Ben Lee.
Olympus with the restart, a great kick up top, and a great recovery from number 13 there. That's going to be Sam Green. Great cover by him. A great tackle. Highland quickly swinging it out wide, finding a little bit of a gap there. That's going to be Justin. And Olympus, unfortunately, got called for not releasing and so Olympus is going to be watching Highland take a kick out into touch.
You know, one thing I've noticed with Highland is in years past, they would tap and go with one of their bigs. And now, on every penalty where they have the opportunity, is they're kicking it into touch. Right? You gain more territory that way. That's the thing that high school programs need to understand, is that rugby is about territory, and so kicking it into touch, you know, you pick up 10, 15 meters on a kick rather than a tap and go where you get maybe 5.
Yep. And Highland with a little bit of a you know, an interesting play there with their line out, doing a little bit of the switching of their forwards to confuse Olympus. Unfortunately, didn't work. The throw was overthrown a little bit, but here Highland has a few numbers there. They're 12 running through, and there's a quick little switch. Unfortunately, the throw was not, or the pass was not ideal. It was quickly stolen by Olympus.
Back. Cover 2.
Okay, Olympus clearing it out very smartly and keeps it in, but just barely goes out. That's a great kick. Great kick by Olympus, just clearing it out, getting that pressure relieved a little bit. I mean, you can ask for a better kick there, especially within the 22. You know, I mean, that's great. It's a line out for Highland, but the meters gained by Olympus from that kick was, you know, significant. That's you know, all you could ask for from that clear kick.
Nice job, Paul.
And when it comes to those clearing kicks, there's a very interesting rule with that. If you are within or behind the 22-meter line, as you can see, coaches are not happy with Alex with the rule there. I believe that is a new rule, but unfortunately, Alex, you know, may have just, you know, missed that just for the time being. You know, and I'm sure we'll review the tapes afterwards, and Alex will you know, make the necessary changes if he needs to. Okay, Olympus with the ball once again with an advantage. Scrum half looked right and then looked left and found it more favorable on the left side. Number 13, once again, it's going to be Sam Green, just strong running from him and great support by Olympus. But Highland not rolling away again. And so, as expected, Olympus is going to be kicking for touch, but let's see if it barely makes it. Oh, and it barely does not make it. You know, it just stays in bounds. Great recovery by number 15 from Highland.
I like how number 8 just squared up, right? Didn't make a move that would have caused you know, some additional gain of. Oh.
Number 10 trying to do with a little grubber kick, but unfortunately missed the ball there, and Olympus quickly scoops it up. You know, Olympus trying to swing it out with hands, but unfortunately, I mean, I only saw about 3 players in there, so, you know, a little bit of the play from Olympus right now is not very organized right now. It seems very clustered, and so Olympus needs to kind of square this up and figure out where they want to go with this ball. Number 2, that's going to be Creed Hicken taking it up, quickly taken down by Highland. And then Olympus being called for diving over the ruck. Unfortunately, you have to stay on your feet when you are trying to clear out a ruck. Highland quick taps as Olympus is trying to get back on 10, back 10 meters. Highland good to stay in bounds. Quickly recycles it out to one of their forwards. Does a little bit of a skip pass. Unfortunately, not handled very well, but then taken once again by Sam Green. Olympus very slow to get to that ruck. You know, unfortunately, Olympus, you know, although they are very quick to getting to that ruck, you know, if they're 9 or anyone really to be there to take the ball out to recycle it back into their to their back line, it really is for naught. And so I think that's what happened there. You know, Olympus a little bit slow on that, but get bailed out once again from an error from Highland. So it's going to be Olympus's scrum. It's going to be a put-in by Ethan Nielsen. Olympus holding strong on that against that strong Highland scrum forward pack. 13 dishes it out. Unfortunately mishandled by Olympus, but quickly recovers that. The ball is, he placed it very well. And then number 10, Cole Nugent, taking it up. The referee blowing his whistle to stop play. Cole Nugent a little slow to get up. Highland, you know, opting to scrum here on a penalty by Olympus. You know, at this point, you know, if I were Highland, I'd really just try to slow down the game, keep the possession, you know, as much as I can. you know, nothing too risky. You know, just, you know, go through the hands, reset, recycle, a few forward, you know, punches, and just try to wear out this clock and wear out Olympus as best we can. If I were Olympus, I'd try to put as much pressure as I can on them, try to come up as a line, and really get in front of the face of Highland before they're able to get anything set up. Right as I say that, Highland with a little bit of a mishap on the ball. Olympus trying to kick through, but unfortunately overextends a little bit and might have, you know, pulled a hammy. Looks like he's holding his quad a little bit. Olympus being potentially called for not releasing. Highland, once again, if you can see him, you know, motioning to the ref that he wants to opt for a scrum, you know, because, you know, Olympus has stolen a few of Highland's lineouts. There's been a few mistakes on Highland's lineouts as well, overthrowing the ball quite a little bit, and so very, very smart play by Highland to just opt for scrums. The benefit of having Highland be kicking so much is, as you can see, some of Olympus's wings now have to play a little bit farther back. Their fullback has to go a little bit farther back, and so it's going to put Olympus a little bit more at, you know, a little bit more pressure on that wing to come up to make sure that he's able to cover anything that comes out and swings out wide. And so it's been really, really great to see that Highland has been utilizing that kick effectively. Olympus has tried it a few times. You know, not as successfully, but, you know, it's been great to see that kicking has been coming into play in the high school age group.
So the score right now is 22-12 in favor of Highland with about 12 minutes left. So Highland has earned at least one bonus point because of scoring 4 tries, right?
How else can these other teams be scoring any bonus points? Is that the only way to score a bonus point, or how does that score?
No, so a win is 4 points. The lose, and then you gain points. You can get points for one scoring 4 tries, right? That's the only. Those are the only points available for the winning team. The losing team can score 1 bonus point for scoring 4 tries, and 1 bonus point for keeping the loss between 7 points. So right now, Olympus hasn't earned any points if the game ended right now.
Well, let's hope they can score at least, you know, another try and keep Highland from not scoring anything, just so they can get another bonus point. You know, they have locked in at least that 4th seed, so you can only hope that, you know, potentially we can get an opportunity to be a little bit higher than the rankings there. Highland being called for a not straight line out, so then it gives Olympus an opportunity for a line out. Olympus going and utilizing that kick a little bit more. Great bounce by Olympus. It's being chased by, dang, Sam Green had a great kick and great chase. Unfortunately, the bounce, you know, was not in favor of Highland, but then it also just did not have a very good bounce for Olympus either. I was not able to scoop that up.
Well, Coleman, you've done a few of those kick and chases. What would you have done? Would you have tried to kick it again rather than pick it up? Or, because in this instance with Sam Green, he tried to pick it up and, you know, knocked it on. If you would have grabbed it, obviously you would have gone right in for, you know, for a try. But
yeah,
with your experience.
Yeah, I think Sam was in the right there trying to scoop it up. He had an opportunity, a nice little bounce. It wasn't a perfect bounce, but it was a good enough bounce that he could have scooped it up. But, you know, just that weather condition, maybe a little bit extra pressure from the defender from Highland caused that to be a little bit of an issue. You know, Olympus with that scrum there, the ball, you know, squirted out a little, you know, surprisingly, and I think to the scrum half's surprise too. He didn't see that it had squeaked out, and so Olympus had to recover there and just boot it out and try to perhaps reset.
Yeah, I mean, it just does not seem like Olympus is in it, right? I mean, they're very discombobulated.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is just that pressure, you know, being that 2nd seed right now and trying to hold on. I mean, there's a lot more pressure when it comes to being 2nd seed, right, than trying to hold off somebody that's trying to be a little bit higher there. So I'm sure it, you know, comes down to a little bit of the pressure. I think, you know,
I mean, it's very. I mean, this is very uncharacteristic of how Olympus is, is playing right now.
Olympus, clearing out that ruck and counter-rucking very, very well, but maybe extended a little too far, and dove over that ruck. Highland with the quick tap. They're just trying to keep the possession of the ball the best that they can and wear out this clock. Very, very smart play by Highland there. Just securing the rucks the best they can. Olympus trying to defend, but Highland, finding numbers and just slowly passing it out and just committing one player, passing it out, getting a nice offload to number 22 on Highland. That's going to be number... Don't have a name for number 22, unfortunately. And I think, at this point, Olympus is trying to contest the rucks. And I think, honestly, at this point, they need to stop contesting the rucks a little bit, reset that defensive line, rather than committing, 3 or 4 guys to contesting the ruck and just getting in that defensive line and allow Highland to make the mistakes that they already have. But as I say that, because of too many guys into that ruck, there was a little bit of space outside, so Highland was able to utilize that. And Soakai Fonua was able to dot it down in the end.
Yeah, I think at this point, maybe out of reach for Olympus right now. I mean, you never say never, right? But with the discrepancy in the score, it's going to be tough for, for Olympus to at least come away with a win. Now, they can, try to get bonus points, and really that would result in getting 2 more tries.
Yeah, I mean, 7 minutes is more than enough time, to score at least 2 tries. But as you can see, Highland is just being very, very smart with what they're doing as far as keeping the possession of the ball. You see here how he's being a little bit slower with getting that kickoff, just to eat up a little bit more time of that off that clock, so that Olympus doesn't have a chance to come back. And as you can see that, Olympus, number 2, Creed Hicken trying to motivate his team to run to the line, be a little bit more quicker, try to get back into this game with the little time that they have left. Is it doable? Yes. Olympus can definitely make these changes, and they're quick enough and fast enough to score 3 more tries. But it's really just a point of execution and allowing Highland to.
A little tidbit of history is if the score does hold for the remaining 6 minutes, this will be the first time that Highland has beat Olympus since Olympus started, right? So it's been 8 years.
Wow. That'll be interesting. It's the first time Highlands beat Olympus since the conception of Olympus.
Yep.
Interesting. Yeah, see, as you can see there, Olympus trying to get involved in that ruck, yes, and he did get there quick enough, and Highland did not release the ball. So Olympus gets the ball and is going to kick for touch there. Let's see if they can get a little bit of speed, trying to get set up in that line out so they're not wasting too much time on the clock. Let's see if they can do something, maybe something fancy to get a cheeky little try here.
Yeah, this has been, good physical match. I wouldn't say that Highland has shown me anything that's spectacular. However, they have been able to capitalize on Olympus's errors.
Yeah, no, definitely, and right there, you can see another one of Olympus's errors. The throw was not straight, and it gives the ball back to Highland. And I mean, you're right there. Highland hasn't done anything necessarily spectacular. Haven't had very big runs. Haven't had very big hits. But what they're doing is they're just being very methodical. They're being very patient. They're keeping the possession of the ball. They're being very smart when it comes to those decisions of opting for a scrum, being a little bit slower on their kicks. After they score tries, and just eating out that clock, and so it's been really great to see Highland develop in that way. Highland going with a weak side pick by their 8-man there. That's going to be Justin. Then they swing it quickly back out, and they see they have numbers there from Highland. And as I say, they haven't had very spectacular plays. Number 11 from Highland getting past the number 15, but quickly, Olympus quickly gets back and holds
Good
it up
hustle
just a
by
little
number
bit.
number 10.
Yes,
Here's number 10.
Number 10, that's going to be
Cole Nugent. Yeah, that was great
Yep.
hustle.
But unfortunately, you know, when you do have that big of a break, sometimes it's hard to recover. Even when Olympus does make that defensive stand there's a lot of space out wide, and Highland very quickly spins it out wide. And that's, you know, what I'm trying to get at a lot of times when we're talking with these, you know, with high school, and sometimes you see it in the professional level here in Utah, you know, and even in the collegiate level, is just always trying to go for those big, you know, huge plays. Sometimes those come with time, right? You be a little bit more patient. You allow your forwards to set it up a little bit. You go through the hands, and then you're quickly going to be able to find those big plays at the end of the game. And so
Right. When you try to force the issue, right? Rather than have it come to you, which was exactly what happened with number 11 on that line break, you let it happen, right? Didn't force the issue, and that's where, you know, turnovers come in when you try to force something that's not there. And that's a good example that you just explained with number 11. Hey, just kind of worked through everything, had a line break, and ran with it.
Yep. I mean, by no means did they have a play set up there. It was just a very quick going through the hands. You know, Olympus had bunched up too much in that ruck, which I was mentioning. They, you know, they're committing too many people to the ruck, around the ruck. They really need to spread out and get those numbers out wide. So Olympus here, you know, to reset once again, kicking off that try from Highland. Great kick. Great take by Highland. Strong running by number 23, which will be Tonga Fanua. And then it quickly recycles out with numbers once again. No, then they skip past, and just a little, you know, slippery. It was just a little bit, maybe got a little try hungry there once again. That's going to be Ashton Olivao. You know, and that's, you know, that's something else I've been very, very impressed with, is Highland is quickly recycling that ball through that ruck and swinging it out wide, and Olympus is having no time to react, you know, and spread out on their defensive line.
Well, let's take a look at next week, the future. There is one more weekend of rugby. Olympus will travel to Harriman next week for the final game. Harriman, like I said, is off this week, so they'll still be in the number 1 position with 15 points. Highland will host East, and East is off this week. East is in the 5th position with 4 points. So this game is essentially over, right? Highland's going to win, so Highland will gain 5 points, right, with 4 points for the win and 1 point for 4 tries. That'll take them to 10 points, which will put them in the number 2 position leading into next week. Now, depending on what happens with that East Highland match, the 3rd spot is the variable at this point, right? Mountain Ridge is done for the season, right? They have no more conference games left, so they're stuck at 7 points. So realistically, depending on what happens next week, Olympus could squeak into the 3rd spot. But right now, they're secured a playoff position on May 7th. So they could eventually play Harriman 2 weeks in a row.
Gotcha.
Which you don't want. And I said, hey, you want to get Harriman in the championship match. You don't want them in the first round. So unfortunately, the ball didn't bounce Olympus's way today. They didn't get any points, but good play by Highland. I mean, they needed some points here to get in a favorable seeding position, and they've done that. So kudos to Dan Berg, Vaha, his staff over there for coming in and playing a good match.
You know, and just as, you know, the clock's winding down, again, the official has the official time. The referee has the official time. So what you see on the clock might not necessarily be the real time that's the official time. And so Olympus just trying to, you know, go through the phases maybe a little bit more. Strong running by their 8-man. I mean, Olympus is an 8-man.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Olympus being called for diving over the ruck once again. They are getting quick to the ruck, but unfortunately, they're just not staying on their feet. And they're just diving over, and it's causing a lot of issues there.
Yeah. So what was since I have to manage all the scores and points for all the boys programs in the state, I'm able to see what's really happening. What hurt Olympus was their last week tie with East, right? They only got 2 points out of that. A tie results in 2 points. And a win last week would have propelled, Olympus into a better position for a higher seed and, not really rely on other, next week's games. So, anyways. Hey, good match, physical, it was clean. Probably wasn't the most prettiest match.
Definitely not.
Just, and the weather wasn't helpful on that, but 2 good programs. I'm happy for Highland, what they're doing, especially for UIR, right, as we want strong programs. I think they're in a good position right now to kind of build their program in a good spot. Olympus, good team, will always be competitive. They will fight till the end. And they're a strong program. They have a lot of kids coming up through the ranks. So this was good to see. From a UIR standpoint, to see this type of rugby that was clean and pure, if you want to call it that, was good.
Yeah, I was very impressed with both teams. They've got some great history, and they brought that today. And this is one of my favorite parts of the end of the game. So they all get together and they just bow as a team. They try to change it up and try to get Highland and Olympus mixed up in there as they bow to the stands. But we really appreciate you guys all joining us today. With Game On live studio. We'll see you later today when United plays Layton Christian Academy. Is that correct?
That's right, 5 o'clock. They'll be streaming it. And then Game On Live Studio again, May 7th and May 14th. So make certain you guys mark that on your calendar. I've seen the videos. I saw the previous Olympus versus Rigby and Olympus versus East. They do a wonderful job. Coleman and I may not be on the next broadcast. Morgan Evans, who I think has done the previous ones, will be back, and he's done a wonderful job. But hopefully you've enjoyed what Coleman and I have, I've said today, and hopefully you've learned something. I did get a text from my wife who's watching us, and she gave me some tips, and she said I say too much, which may be the case. So anyways, that's something to work on. So maybe I need to stay away from broadcasting completely.
Yeah, well,
but it was fun, and you did a good job. I mean, you have experience calling BYU rugby matches, and because of your experience on the field playing, you did a good job. So it was good working with you, Coleman. And that's it for us.